Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Turn It Up. One day, Ben is going to get a new chair. So y'all don't hear all this squeaking that I do every time I'm... Anyways, moving on. First thing I'm going to talk about is thank you all very much, everybody who's went and liked and listened. Lots of views on it on my top 10 bass list. Really appreciate it. I've got some messages from people and talked to some people. It's like, man, I didn't even realize what them guys did. Seemed to really enjoy that I was playing bass along with it and dug it. So one of the things I'm going to do is thanks once again Al for the idea. Ben's next 10 because man, there was some guys on that bass list that I left off and it hurt my soul. It hurt my soul, I tell you, it hurt my soul. But anyways, I'm going to do another episode, and it's going to be 11 through 20. I've already made the list up, and this is what I'm going to do. So if you'll go on, not on this clip, but on Ben's top 10 bass players, the last one I did, if you'll go on there, and you'll guess who number 11 is of Ben's top 20 bass players. If you can guess who number 11 is, I'm going to give away a pair of JBL headphones just like the ones I'm listening to. They're wireless or wired, whichever one you prefer, and that way you can listen to Turn It Up along with me through the same set of ears that I'm listening to. And I'll show them to you real quick. I mean, they're nothing extravagant, but hey, it's $40, $50 that you didn't have to pay for. The free set of headphones, and all you do is you got to guess who number 11 is. Now, you've got to pay attention to that first top 10, Ben's top 10 bass list, and know who I already put through 1 through 10. But I will give one hint. I'll give two. So here's two hints. One, this band is possibly still one of my favorite bands. They fall under the hair metal genre. And this guy's bass playing is heavenly. That's all the hint you're going to get. And that's all I'm going to share. So if you can figure out who number 11 is, the first one that goes on Ben's top 10 bass playing video that I've got on YouTube, if you'll go on there and put the answer who you think number 11 is, if you win, then you get a pair of these JBL headphones. Brand new in the box, not ones Ben's used for 23 years and had laying in his attic. Never gets old. Just never gets old. Well, anyways, so that's what you got to do. One more time. You got to go to the Ben's top 10 bass video and guess who number 11 is in the comments. If you put and you get it right, the first person in order who got it right gets a pair of these JBL headphones. But you got to guess who that is. All right. So now moving along to today's episode. Today I'm not going to talk about music. I'm going to give it a break. I'm going to give music a little break. I'll be back with music, and like I said, I'll be back with Ben's next 10. But right now, I'm going to talk about something, and I don't know why I'm talking about it, because it's really not worth the ridicule, I'm sure, but it intrigues me. So I'm going to talk about Bigfoot. Look, no matter what you think or what your opinion is, because I was one of these people that laughed it off too every time I heard somebody even mention it. Two, I had myself a little experience. Now, I'm not claiming what I had as an experience is Bigfoot. I don't know what it is. But there's many theories of the Bigfoot, and I'm not no Sasquatch expert, nor do I claim to be one, but I do want to talk about my experience. So here it is. We'll just start the story off. My wife's father, my father-in-law, he bush hogs. He goes, Ben, I'm going to need your help. I need you to go down there and load up my tractor at this place. And I was like, why can't you load up your tractor? And he was like, well, Ben, I've hurt my shoulder. And I was like, okay. Tell me how to get there. So it's in the middle of 232 acres. There, in the middle of it, this guy has a barn where he stores the hay, and it's got a pond on it, and it's fenced off. And he said he finished the bush hog job. He said, I just need you to load it up, take the truck down there. And he goes, well, you can use my truck and load it up. So we took his truck down there to go load up the tractor. So I get out there, and, well, first of all, we drive down this old country road, and then we have to turn off, and the road is just big enough for me to get the truck and trailer down there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what have I got myself into? And it seems like we probably drove for 35 to 40 minutes, if I can remember correctly, on that road. And we drove, and we got out there, and I mean, it's so wooded and so shaded. It was probably 93, 94 degrees that day, but when we got there, it was probably like 72, 73, it felt like. And it could have been just the difference in the heat. But, I mean, so wooded, so thick, that only path was what was cut out in them wood paths, and it was grown up over top the vehicles. So the trees were cut out, but they were up atop the vehicle, like arched way. And we drove down this road, and we drove down this road, and drove down this road. And by the time we got there, it was probably about 8 o'clock, 8:30 at night. The sun was starting to go down. And I told her, I was like, well, I'm going to have to go get it. And that beautiful, beautiful spot out there. I mean, had the old wooden X fence where they were, just hand-cut logs, turned X-ways going down the fence row, and that spot that was cleared off, you could see the barn and all the hay loaded in the barn. And I don't know how old that barn was, but it's been there for a while. And all the way back, I bet you it was probably 200 yards from the barn to the back of the fence and cleared off. He'd done quite a bit of bush hogging, and the pond was right over here to the left of it. So I go over there, and I'm like, all right, go get the tractor. Well, the tractor is on the other side of the pond. So the barn is here, the pond's right next to it, and the path between the barn and the pond's not big enough to get the tractor through. What he had to do was back up and drop the bush hog and then come around and go the other way. So I was going to take the tractor on off. Well, I'm getting out there, and sure enough, I go to fire up the tractor, and the tractor won't fire up. It won't even make a click. So I raise up the hood on it, and I jam in with the cables. I finally got it to make a little bit of connection, I could tell. So I went back to my truck to get a wrench to tighten it on down. I just felt like something was wrong. I'm not going to say like I felt like I was being watched or anything like that, because at that time didn't. But something felt odd, and I was like, man, I got to hurry up and get this done before it gets dark. I didn't want to be out there in the dark trying to mess with loading that tractor. Bad things happen when you try to do that. So I go over, get the wrench, tighten down the cables. I reach around and I hear it fire. So I was like, all right, I'm going to get on here and choke it and get it to start. Well, I get it to start up, and then I can't get the bush hog to raise. I'm like, oh my goodness. There's one thing after another, but I couldn't get it to raise. So I get off, shut it down, and I go look. And by that time, I really felt like something was starting. You get that feeling. Have you ever been out somewhere and you just feel like something's watching you? Then I started getting that feeling. I was like, something is not right here. I don't know what it is, but something ain't right. I go over to the truck and I tell Tammy, I says, something's going on, the bush hog ain't raising. And so I said, try to call your dad and see what's going on. Well, of course, there's no service. I was like, well, maybe I'll just drag it up there without getting the bush hog to raise. Let me see how steep this is. So I go back over and I get it to fire up, and then pull the lever to get the bush hog to raise up, and I pump it 3 or 4 times, and finally it starts raising on up, just starts coming on up, and I'm like, well, that's all right, I got it to work. So I drive it back long ways, and I swing out, and I'm looking in at the fence row all the way around as I'm coming back around. And I drive it all the way back, and I come through the other side of the pond, and I get over to the trailer and drive it up onto the trailer, shut it down, I block it off, strap it down, throw the rods up there, and I go, well, something told me it's just like, hey, check and make sure you didn't leave nothing, no wrenches or nothing like that. So I walk back around the pond one more time, and as I scan across the pond, I look over and it's, like I said, probably about 200 yards to the back of it, and I just see a giant mass. It's the wooden fence is probably right here on me. Yeah, it would have came up to about chest height on me, because if I walked over to where it is, it would have been chest high. And I looked over, and whatever it was, and like I said, I'm not saying what it is, but when I caught it in my visual, it looked like it was every bit of 7'3", 7'4" would be my guess, and as broad as 3 of me across the mass. Like I said, I didn't see any details. I scanned over and it caught me, and I felt my heart just sink. I looked right at the ground. I walked over. Didn't care if I'd left a wrench. I walked calmly, smoothly back to the truck. Opened up the truck door, got in the truck, and Tammy goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "We're just going to go. I got the tractor, let's go." So I'm cruising on out, and I'm going down the road, and I get a while on the road. She goes, "What is wrong?" And I was like, I explained to her what I seen. And I'm going to tell you this right now. She was like, "Well, what you see?" And I was like, "I don't know what I saw, and I don't want to know. I didn't want it to know that I saw it. I didn't want it to know that I even thought it was there, or even like I didn't even see you. I didn't even notice you. You're not there." I just completely ignored it and thought, if I completely ignore this, me and it ain't got no problem. And I got in the truck and I cruised on down the road. Well, I drive it over Tammy's dad's, and he's like, he you have any troubles? And I was telling him, he didn't want to start, but I played with the wires and started up. And he goes, did you see anything? And I went, what do you mean, did I see anything? And he's like, did you see anything? And I went, absolutely not. I got my truck, I split back to the house, and I've only talked about it maybe 3 or 4 times since then. Now, I wish maybe I would have handled it a little different, looked at it, tried to get a clip, but I'm telling you right now, whatever it was massive and it was big, and I didn't want it to know that I seen it. That was my theory on it. If it didn't know, and I'm not saying it's a Bigfoot. I don't know what it was. Like I said, it was a mass and it was huge. And it wasn't there in the beginning, and it was there. I never looked back to see if it was still there or if it was gone. I'm telling you, like I said, I acted like I never even seen it. I never even locked eyes with it. Now, there's 1,000,001 theories that the Bigfoots control your mind, and they very well may control your mind. I don't know. It controlled my mind to not look at it, and I didn't look at it. I've never went back. I know where it is, and I've thought about it a few times. Well, we'll go down there and just look around, see if I see any footprints. Then I got to thinking, Ben, what are you going to do if it's there and you're there? Because look, I ain't about killing no animal that is on the endangered species list, and that one would be. And I don't want to defend myself for being in its spot. So I've never went back and looked. One day I plan on it. One day I'm just going to go nose around out there and just see what I see. But today ain't the day, and tomorrow ain't the day. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to be in there and out of there before the sun sets. I promise you that. But anyways, I just thought that I'd share that my little Bigfoot story. And like I said, since that day, I've never laughed or scoffed at anybody else that's had a Bigfoot story. I've sat and listened and been like, hey, you know what? You do you, I watch the shows now. It's piqued my interest since I've seen that. Before that, I was like, that ain't real. I don't know what it was. I'm not saying I seen a Bigfoot. It could have been a grizzly bear, a Tennessee grizzly bear, or a black bear, or something else. It was huge. It was massive, and I didn't want to look at it again. But anyways, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it anymore. But if you have a Bigfoot story that you'd like to share, and trust me, I'm not going to make fun of you, and I'm not going to ridicule you. If you want me and you to talk about it on them, I'd be more than happy to have a guest. Or I'd come to you even, and we could talk about your encounter or your beliefs or your theory on Bigfoot. I just find it fascinating. I can't explain what I've seen, but I like to talk about it, and I like for other people to talk about it. Sometimes talking about things helps you understand, But once again, Ben's next video will be Ben's next 10. And if you can guess who number 11 is, and you got to put it on Ben's top 10 bass player video on YouTube. If you'll put in the comments who you think it is, and you're correct, you will win a set of these JBL headphones. Once again, the hint is one of my favorite bands, still one of my favorite bands. Seen them in concert a lot, more times than I've seen anybody else. And the bass playing this guy does is just heavenly. So for that, if you don't do anything else this week, guys, Y'all got to turn it up. That's the only thing I ask. Just turn it up. Y'all have a good day. Look forward to seeing you. Turn it up.